Welcome to the Useless Podcast. I'm your host, Zach Schwartz, here on a chilly day in Orlando, Florida of 65 degrees. I know my Michigan and Ohio people really dislike that. And I want to talk about something I dislike. And it's weird because I love the NFL draft. I love everything about the NFL, despite being a miserable Detroit Lions fan. But one thing I do not like is the NFL Combine. And I do not get the obsession over the NFL Combine. Of course, it is the week of the NFL Combine, and I'm getting notifications about Joe Burrow's hand size and everything else in between. And frankly, I don't get it. These type of measurements that happen, the height, the weight, the hand size, the jumping ability, all these different things get taken at the NFL Combine in Indianapolis every year. And I hate it. It makes no sense because people will think about this guy's bench press as a running back or think about this guy's squat max. And I don't understand. I don't understand it because at the end of the day, these guys are prospects who have played top level college football or some level of Division II, Division I college football for multiple years, have tape against multiple great opponents. You know, Clemson has to play 13 teams a year. That you can see them against this type of competition. And outside of maybe the 40-yard dash for straight line runners like cornerbacks or someone like Henry Ruggs, who's supposed to be a deep threat wide receiver in this class, where does it matter, you know? Maybe the 3-cone drill, you want to say, 3-cone shuttle for linemen. But a lot of these things, you know, I'm not looking at someone's bench press and going, oh yeah, great. And it's that kind of thing where people like do this whole thing of reviewing combine and combine stats and all this stuff. And to me, it does not matter. You know what matters? If he was good at football during college. That's what matters. They're talking about Joe Burrow having small hands and that only a couple quarterbacks have succeeded with 9-inch hands. You know what matters? His 9-inch hands threw 60 touchdowns last year for a national champion LSU team. That's what matters. Stuff like Tua Tagovailoa's hip injury, getting medical results on that. That matters. He's not even throwing at the combine. And you know who else isn't working out? Chase Young, the number 2 overall pick, most likely, if Washington doesn't mess it up like they always do. These kind of things don't matter at this combine. And of course, you get all these measurements again at the pro day. So even if a cornerback has a bad 40-yard dash, guess what? He gets to do it again in his home stadium with his own people doing whatever he wants. The only thing that matters at these combines are the interviews. And no one talks about the interviews. No one cares about them. The press doesn't care about them. They care about the guys' bench press reps and all this other stuff. And I just hate it, and I don't like it when it's on the TV. And that is today's Open. Coming up next, we have Salvador Corona coming on to talk about the NBA, where I think Joel Embiid needs to go off the Sixers. Now joined by Salvador Corona, an assist NBA expert. Sal, how are you doing today?
I'm good, Zach. How are you? I'm glad to be back on this podcast. Was this like my second or third time?
It's got to be. It's up there.
Yeah.
We'll keep increasing it as it goes on. I'm doing okay. A quick check of the NBA standings left me very sad this morning as I realized Detroit is about 2 games from being the worst team in the league. Now.
Really? I didn't even know they were that.
Oh, they've lost like their last 6.
Jeez, that's
Who knew Andre Drummond would be so important?
I know, right? How are the Cleveland doing with him? Obviously,
I think they're below the Detroit still, so that goes to show.
That's funny.
We will not be talking about Cleveland or Detroit because they're useless. They're not part of the landscape anymore. But it's an interesting season, I think, right now because if you look at the Vegas odds, there are 3 teams that are favorites, and I looked these up last night. So these are updated.
Okay. Lakers
are the favorite, plus 225.
Of course.
So bet $1, make $2.25 off it. Bucks are 5-2. Now I'll get to them in a second because they're pretty interesting. Clippers 3-1, still hanging around. And then the next best team is the Houston Rockets.
Really?
13-1.
The Rockets. I thought you were going to say the Celtics because they've been up there too in the talks about like them being somewhat of a competitor to the Bucks in a way, but that's interesting.
Celtics are 18-1.
Okay.
So I want to start with the Clippers, though, because I think they're interesting because, there's a whole, basically, lap for the fan base in the summer when they landed Kawhi and Paul George for 15 first-round picks.
Uh-huh.
And Now it kind of looks a little preemptive to me. I'm definitely not as high on them as I was in the offseason.
Yeah.
Just Paul George has been injured. There's been a lot of issues there. It kind of seems like they now they may have a deeper team in terms of stock, like people that you know. Mm-hmm. But it's a little strange. So, what are your thoughts on the Clippers?
No, I think that too. Like coming into this year, there was high expectations for them because, like, why wouldn't there be this? They have Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, two of the best players in the league, and then I kind of have to disagree with you, just because I know that come playoffs, especially the Clippers and their load management mindset, their players might not seem like they're doing okay, or like the injuries are holding them back, or the team's performing a certain way. I think come playoffs, you're going to be a completely different team, and it's hard to root against the Clippers with the amount, like you said, they added a lot of key players, and their bench is very deep, especially the Marcus Morris one. That one I feel like is going to be a huge difference come like playoff time. So I still think they're a very dangerous team. Probably, I think they're even more dangerous than the Lakers.
I disagree. They had Reggie Jackson at the deadline, or at the buyout deadline. I don't like that. I've watched Reggie Jackson for years in a Detroit uniform. I don't see where I see the bench depth in the names and stuff like that. I do see that. I just don't know how it fits together. And I think that's part of the thing is that Kawhi and Paul George is all about the switchable wings, kind of like what Boston has with Tatum and Brown, which has worked really well. We'll get to Jayson Tatum later because, oh my goodness, what a leap he's had this year. But the other thing for me is, with this load management stuff, like you said, they're inconsistent and all this stuff. And the inconsistency kind of bothers me because it's almost like they're, in a way, approaching the season just as if it's nothing, which in a way it is. I mean, sure. And they're still the 3 seed in the West, so they're not like completely far off from the Lakers. But it just feels like they kind of have that vibe of like Golden State in past years, if that makes sense. But the difference is Golden State already won a title. Yeah. And and I get that Kawhi's won a title, but like Paul George, in the playoffs, he hasn't been to he went to the Eastern Conference Finals once against the elite, or maybe a couple times against the Cavs. I remember back in the day in the Heat. In terms of other guys, guys like Marcus Morris, Reggie Jackson, those kind of guys that are key bench guys coming off. Lou Williams. I mean, it's just they don't have a great 5-man. Their numbers are fine, like I said. It's nothing. It's just it feels a little weird, and also the whole thing around the team that Kawhi and Paul George only signed 2-year deals. Yeah, basically.
No, that's a good point, but I just find it hard to root against them. Especially, I don't know. I guess we'll have to see how come playoffs, especially their coach. Their coach Doc Rivers has a great way of.
That's a good point.
Of using these players come playoffs, like of putting them in the right situations and coming up with like specific game plans for them. That he's known to be a great coach for that reason of not kind of not exploiting it himself throughout the regular season, just so he has something up his sleeve in the playoffs that he can like one up other teams.
Yeah, and that's true. I really like Doc. That's a good point. And then their center is Montrezl Harrell. Yeah. I don't like him against Anthony Davis. I do have to say. Yeah,
that's that matchup, of course.
That's a little tough. I mean, Marcus Morris might just hit the guy in the face and let it go. Transitioning to the Lakers then, they're 44-12. Mm-hmm. They're first in the West. Like I said, they are the favorite right now in most sports books to win the NBA title. They're fourth in both offensive rating and defensive rating. And LeBron, at age, I want to say it's 37, right? He's 37 years old. Yeah. 25, 8, and 11. So 25 rebounds, 25 points, 8 rebounds, 11 assists a game. Not bad. Anthony Davis also slapping up a 27 and 10. Yeah. So they're pretty good. It's almost the exact inverse, though, for me, of the Clippers situation. The Clippers might have too many guys. It feels like the Lakers, especially with their guard rotation. I wrote down some of their top minutes for guards, and I'm going to read through this list. I know you can tell me how you feel at a 1 out of 5, how good you feel. Rajon Rondo, Danny Green, Avery Bradley, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. Oh, what? Alex Caruso. That's the guard rotation right now. Yeah. For the Los Angeles Lakers. Not to mention there's top center other than Davis, who of course Davis is the crunch time center, is Dwight Howard.
Exactly. See, this is my point exactly. Like, these players don't seem like they could hold their own when LeBron and Davis are off on the bench or not contributing like fully. Like, especially now, I know they're the Lakers are also doing their part with load management.
Yeah.
Because LeBron's not playing because of groin injuries, but we really know those groin injuries are not actual groin injuries.
You know.
And Anthony Davis as well. He's also, I think they're both, I saw somewhere they're not playing tonight against the Warriors because it's the Warriors, they don't have to play. But I guess we'll see how, I think this is a good chance for the Lakers to kind of like throw out some like different rotations and see how it works out when games like these late in the season against like teams like the Warriors that are not too important.
Yeah, because in crunch time, you probably have LeBron as your point guard anyway.
Yeah,
but like you said, like in those non-LeBron, non-AD minutes, even Anthony Davis can pop out to the 3-point line and drain a couple threes. It's hard, though, for those minutes. And yet, I feel like the Lakers somehow, like, I don't know, this whole thing, rest in peace, Kobe Bryant, it feels a little like they're the team of destiny this year. Like, with the other reaction to it, everything about that. You know, LeBron's own reaction to it. Like I said, he's playing remarkable while he's not injured with fake groin injuries. It just feels like to me somehow they figured it out, and maybe they didn't get a buyout guy or two that they should have. You know, I think Tristan Thompson would have been really helpful for them or someone like that, or maybe for the Celtics, another team that could have used the center. It just feels like to me like in a 7-game series, is LeBron going to let this team lose? Because we've seen before.
I completely agree with that too. Like, there's no way.
Because we've seen before with Cleveland, you know, LeBron literally in 2016 was not letting that team lose. And in subsequent years, of course, he was trying as hard as he could. But J.R. Smith and the Death Star that was the Golden State Warriors at the time wouldn't let that happen. And, of course, we could compare this Lakers team to that Cleveland team and be like, okay, he does have Anthony Davis. Like, that's probably the best person he's played with. So I really like the Lakers. I can't truly explain it the whole time because, like I said, Danny Green, Alex Caruso, those kind of guys. But I don't know, like we were watching that Boston game at the weekend, and Tatum dropped, I want to say 40, 50 points or whatever, and they still end up with the wins.
Yeah, we can talk about Tatum later because that's another story. But I wanted to say something else about the Lakers. They obviously added the other Morris brother too, Markieff Morris.
Yes.
I don't know how. I remember a few years ago he was a better Morris brother, but now obviously Marcus is a better one, better shooter, better defender. But I don't know if you also heard they set up a meeting with Dion Waiters.
Oh, goodness gracious.
So I feel like they're trying, like you said, they're trying to add this like other piece to the rotation. And a lot of people say it's probably just like kind of like to draw up a headline because Rob Pelinka was Waiters' agent back in the day. So maybe that he has a little bit more of an interest in him and kind of sees that like potential or that some other teams don't see in Dion Waiters. But
potential to smoke a lot of weed. Eat a lot of edibles.
We'll see if that's just nothing or imagine that. Because Dion Waiters could be a good role player. Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
He can shoot you out of a game too. He's kind of like Reggie Jackson.
He's like a J.R. Smith too.
Oh yeah, there you go.
If he gets hot, he's hot. But Did
J.R. Smith ever retire, or is he just still unsigned?
He's still unsigned.
Wow, what a fall! What a fall from grace. The other third favorite of the three, the Milwaukee Bucks. They're 50-8. They have to go roughly 20-3, about to get to 71 wins. 21-3. Sorry, I can't do basic math. To challenge for the Bulls record, get around there. So, which is insane to think about, and they are not the favorite. They lead the league in defensive rating. They have a net total rating. These are advanced numbers of 11.6. The next highest is the Lakers at 7.1. For that context, for 11.6, the 1997 Bulls, those of Michael Jordan, had 11.8.
Okay.
And the 2017 Golden State Warriors had 11.4.
Wow.
So currently, the Milwaukee Bucks are better than any iteration of Golden State. Looking through the research last night.
That's honestly surprising because, I mean, I haven't gotten an opportunity to watch probably the Milwaukee Bucks play a game. I think the only game I've watched was versus the my team, the Magic, but like, come on, like,
right? Yeah.
That's not. They're not playing at their highest level there because it's the Magic. But that's honestly surprising that statistically they're better than a Warriors team.
And here's the other thing: Giannis probably gonna be the MVP again.
Yeah.
He's putting up 30 points a game, 14 rebounds a game, and 6 assists a game. That is very comparable to the 30 points a game, 14 rebounds a game, and 4 assists a game that the year 2000 Shaquille O'Neal put up.
That's ridiculous.
In his MVP and Finals MVP year. So Giannis is at peak Shaq.
Yeah.
Right now.
100%.
Which is crazy to think about. And yet, like I said, they are not the favorite. They're higher than the Clippers, but I think that's more due to the Clippers resting and stuff like that than the Bucks' own actions. And yet, there's this talk around the league of like, there's this juggernaut, and yet no one's really addressing them as such.
Yeah, because I don't know what it is, but there's some sort of like insecurity that comes with rooting for the Bucks because they really haven't showed it in the playoffs last year. I mean, they didn't, what happened with them, but yeah, there's nothing that like gives me the confidence like, oh yeah, they're gonna go all the way and they're gonna win the championship and everything. Even though like hearing these statistics, I still don't feel confident. And like, if I had to put money down on a team, it wouldn't be on the Bucks.
Yeah, I completely agree. And that's part of the reason why I bring it up for discussion, because even though we can have this conversation about all these stats and stuff like that, I can keep throwing numbers at you. The end of the day, Eric Bledsoe is their third leading scorer. And we saw Eric Bledsoe last year in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Had a disastrous time against the Toronto Raptors. And of course, the other thing with the Bucks too is that, they went out in the playoffs, they lost 4 straight to the Raptors after going up 2-0 in the Eastern Conference Finals. And yet the Raptors were the NBA champions. So it's not like that's, some kind of heartbreaking bad loss. They just got their ass kicked for 4 games.
To a good team.
Right. But we're still not giving them that respect. And, I think I'm going to ask you, if you had to pick one of these 3 teams, you're going to say Clippers, aren't you?
Yes.
And I would say Lakers. So here we are. We're doing the same exact thing everybody else is.
Yeah, and if you throw up, I don't know, the other, like, another Eastern Conference team that I could make an argument that, I don't know, like a team like the Celtics could surprise them in the Eastern Conference Finals, if depending how the standings work out or if they meet earlier.
Yeah, great transition. Celtics, 18-1. They are behind Houston, as previously mentioned, also Toronto. At 17-1, Toronto is. But Jayson Tatum, I want to say, his season so far, 23 points a game, 7 rebounds a game, 3 assists a game. But the last 10 games, he's averaging 31 points a game. He's shooting 50% from 3 on 9 attempts. And he's also getting done on defense with the steal and the block. I want to talk about him with also a couple other guys like Luka Doncic. But Tatum is, like I said, we were watching that game against the Lakers on Sunday. Another level he has hit. And it's kind of the level that when he first came onto the scene as a rookie, we thought he could hit for sure, being a top 5, top 10 NBA player possibly. I'm not saying he's there right now, but we can see that again. We see it again before the Kyrie Irving darkness took over Boston last year, and Tatum went missing, and now it seems like he's back in his full form.
No, yeah, I completely agree. You could make an argument that he's either the second or third best player in the Eastern Conference behind Giannis. I don't know what other player you would put up there, because he's, like you said, he's reached that other level. He's finding a way to score in crunch time. And he's also a very good defender, and people don't give him credit for it. But yeah, I expected him to be this good, but not this early in his career.
Yeah. Right now he's playing at an all-NBA level guy, which is crazy to think about. And you bring up that point about the Eastern Conference. Right now, if we run through the seeds real quick, Milwaukee's won. They've got that locked up. They've actually already clinched a playoff spot. So there you go. Toronto's in the 2 hole right now, and that matters and I'll say why in a second. 3's Boston, 4 Miami, 5 Philadelphia, which I have some thoughts. 6 Indiana, 7 Brooklyn without Kyrie, which actually may help Brooklyn, and then 8 Orlando. The difference between 6 and 7 when Indiana will get back Vic Oladipo is huge.
Yeah.
But you go through, like I said, that thing. Milwaukee's best player is Giannis, of course. Toronto, you could say Siakam, but personally I take Tatum over Siakam right now. Siakam's averaging a 24 and 8 as well. But, the Toronto thing is more about their collective team rather than one guy. You have Miami, Jimmy Butler. I'm not on the Jimmy Butler camp either. Yeah. Jimmy Butler and Kyrie Irving I'm out on. Philly, you guess you say Embiid, but It's kind of different like that, and who knows? Indiana, Victor Oladipo, but nothing there. And then Brooklyn and Orlando.
Exactly.
Nothing. So the race for the 2 seed's interesting, just because Toronto's been out there kicking ass all year. They're actually 4th in net rating in the league, which is shocking. So them and Boston will be really interesting to see who gets that 2 seed and basically gets a first round pass against Brooklyn, because Brooklyn without Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving now, like, they're toast.
Here's my thought on Brooklyn. I think it might be too late, but honestly, probably not too late for them to go into tank mode, because get a lottery pick. I don't know. I feel like the Magic. I'm not just saying this because I'm a fan of them. They'll move into that 7th spot because the Magic have an easy schedule ahead of them. I think it's like either the 3rd easiest remaining schedule in the whole league. Gotcha. So I think they'll move into that 7th spot. So then Brooklyn will probably be in the 8th, or I don't know who's 9th. You know?
I do know. Who do you think is 9th? Take a guess. I looked it up this morning, and it is sad.
The Hornets.
Close. It's the Washington Wizards.
Oh, my.
That is how bad the Eastern Conference is that the Washington Wizards are competing for a playoff space.
Yeah, and, I mean, Bradley Beal has been putting up some numbers, so maybe they'll sneak in with that 8th spot and then get destroyed by the Bucks. But, I mean, it'll help to Bradley Beal's self-esteem that he put him there in the playoff spot, because I'm sure he needs that, like, self-validation.
Right. Oh, for sure. My goodness. Yeah, I do think Tatum, though, like you kind of mentioned, can be a make-or-break player in a series against, say, Toronto in the semifinals or something like that, depending on how the rest of the bracket shakes out. And, possibly go to toe-to-toe with Giannis if he keeps this level of play up. He's dipped in Dode before, so we're not too sure about that. But, I mean, along with their other pieces, Jaylen Brown and other pieces, they have their Kemba Walker, of course. Yeah. Not sold on Daniel Tice as their center. But
Gordon Hayward, he's a good...
Sure, he's looked more like Gordon Hayward recently after that crazy leg injury. Another guy who's taken a leap this year, Luka Doncic.
Yeah.
He's averaging 29 points a game, 10 rebounds, and 9 assists a game. So
he's that close from averaging a triple-double. I know he has, 20-something triple-doubles this year, but I didn't know he was averaging it. He was that close to averaging it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, second year in the league for Dallas. Dallas also is leading the league in offensive rating. And they are currently in the 7 spot, separated from the 5 spot by just a half game from OKC.
Really? I didn't know it was that close in the West for those spots.
Yep. So Dallas I was high on Dallas before the season, I have to say. I had them in the playoffs. If we looked at the rest of my playoffs, it wouldn't look great compared to what's happened now. I think I picked Philly to win the East. But Dallas, Doncic is taking a step up, and while Porzingis, I'm still on Kristaps. I like him. Just had unfortunate couple breaks for the years. He's been carrying this team, and they're winning and stuff. And then if we want to contrast, I'll bring in another player who's playing really well. He's 3rd in the league in points per game. Trae Young is 9 assists a game. The difference here for me, because there's a lot of Trae people now. I think Trae truthers and stuff that are coming out. He's all fun and games. I don't think he should have been an all-star starter, personally.
And you're saying this probably because the Hawks are last in the East.
17 wins.
Yeah,
it's an important statistic.
I completely agree with that. That's a big difference where when you compare Luka and Trae Young, and you're okay, they're both putting up numbers, but the Mavericks are in the playoffs. I mean, in the playoffs right now, they're in the top 8 teams in the West, especially with the West being so stacked, and then the Hawks have 17 wins, and especially in a Eastern Conference, how weak that conference is.
Doncic also has a plus 5.5 net rating, and Trae has a minus 4.1. So that's another thing. And I wanted to look back at the trade because Hawks fans have said the trade worked out.
Yeah.
It's Doncic for Trae and Cam Reddish. That's the whole trade.
Okay, but here's another thing. I don't want to be who won that trade now, because even though if we had to pick someone right now, obviously Mavericks won that trade. Yeah. But they're very young players, and we'll just have to see how I don't know how they develop. But yeah,
Luka looks like an MVP.
He does look, because I think you attribute that a lot to him playing at a professional level at a young age over in Spain, because he's very mature.
Yeah.
And he's not just putting up numbers to put up numbers. He's contributing to the team winning games, which is important.
Right. I think the other thing, too, from that draft is that DeAndre Ayton went number 1 overall, and I believe Marvin Bagley went second.
Really?
So maybe the Hawks aren't in the worst shape after all. The poor Kings. Poor Kings fans. Another draft person I want to talk about is Mr. Zion.
Okay.
He is come in. He's played, I want to say, about 13 games, 23 points a game, 7 boards. He's averaging 29 minutes a game. So he's up there with the minutes. And the Pelicans, since he has been on the court, and they're 8th in offensive rating in the league, and then they are 7th in defensive rating. And they are now just 3.5 games back from the Grizzlies and their own superstar rookie in the Western Conference.
Yes.
Your thoughts?
Okay, so this is an interesting. I don't know. It's funny how this all played out, especially with the whole who's gonna win the Rookie of the Year. Is Zion still worth even talking about since he missed so much of the season? Everybody thinks Jaw's for sure gonna get it. But yeah, I think Zion is playing incredible. If he would have played the whole season, he would be front runner to win the Rookie of the Year. But you can't just give it to him because he's played what so far? How many games do you know?
Well, I think it was 13.
13 games,
down, but I saw 13.
And if they don't make the playoffs, he'll end up playing about 35 games, I think, or 37.
Yep.
So I think if he somehow manages to, I don't know, for these next however many games he has, can average a 28-7, I would be much in favor of giving him the Rookie of the Year, even though he hasn't played the whole season. And then, especially what he's doing as to contributing also to the Pelicans winning games and possibly sneaking into that 8th spot in the playoffs. That's also contributes a lot to what a player is. Because I know right now, I think I saw something where the Pelicans have one of the easiest schedules also for the remaining of the year, versus as the Grizzlies I think have the toughest schedule. Mm-hmm. And especially now I think one of their key players is injured, so
they trade Jay Crowder at the deadline as well, and Andre Iguodala. So.
Exactly. So they're probably going to get knocked out of the playoffs, and then the Pelicans are going to. What's the other team? The Blazers that in between.
The Blazers,
them?
I think, are close too. Yeah.
But yeah, so I mean, I'm a big fan of Zion, and I don't know. I think he's deserving of being talked about as a Rookie of the Year, regardless of how many games he's played.
I think Ja's been too good. That's the thing, is that if it were the Michael Carter Williams year, where he won the Rookie of the Year, which was truly disastrous, it would be a conversation, but it's not like Ja hasn't been good the whole year. And you're right.
Ja has been, sorry to interrupt, Ja has been very consistent, super consistent.
Yeah. But if you... you're saying, but big part of that is the Grizzlies being in the playoffs, stuff like that. So if they flip-flop, then we can have an argument, because I just said, they're a top 10 team in the league right now with Zion coming in and playing. So he completely flips the fabric of the Pelicans, even though Brandon Ingram has been going off as well this season. So it's certainly flipped in a way, and I still think Ja would win. I would still handicap him, but I do think it's interesting. Do you believe the recent reports that Zion is 300 pounds?
Yeah, he's thick. He's very thick.
I mean, a 300-pound person can move like that is crazy.
Yeah, because
LeBron's
up there. LeBron's 260, 270.
Yeah,
and Zion is 100% heavier than him.
I mean, it's just crazy to me that at that weight, he's moving around doing things. His second jump is,
and he moves so fast down the court too. It's not even about the strength he has and his jumping ability. He's quick on the court. I saw something where the opposing teams are surprised how fast he moves, being 300 pounds. It's crazy.
It makes no sense. Human physics doesn't make any sense at all. I've been saving this one, and I'm really excited because I wrote out some possible things too for this. Philadelphia, they're 5th in the East. As I thought they would win the East, so we're way off there already. There's been moments where Ben Simmons has been injured and Joel Embiid has looked fantastic. There have been moments where Joel Embiid has been injured and Ben Simmons looks fantastic.
Yes.
It's very clear to me that they are not compatible. And it's not that they're not compatible per se, but it's Ben Simmons to be the player that they thought he could be number 1 overall draft pick. Kind of needs a thing almost like Zion in a way, to where you have to style your team after him. Like, I heard an example of this actually was Lamar Jackson for the Ravens.
Okay.
How well that worked out. Ben Simmons needs that kind of treatment where you make him the focus and you build not just your team, but your whole offense around him, because he's great on defense. He's a switchable guard. Obviously he's 6'10" guard basically. I don't know why he doesn't shoot threes. I shoot threes when I play pickup, and I can make maybe 10%. So I'm not sure about that, because for instance they're 21st in offensive rating, but they're 5th in defensive rating. So that kind of goes to show there. And for that offensive rating statistic, they're in between Sacramento and Minnesota.
Really?
And Minnesota obviously has been going off a train wreck after a couple months ago with Karl Anthony Towns being probably the saddest person in the league, possibly.
No, yeah, it's surprising how poorly. I don't want to say poorly because they're 5th in the East, but
relative to expectations.
Yeah, they're doing poorly. I didn't expect them to win the East, but I expect them to be like the second best team in the East.
Yeah.
And I don't know what's going on with like their whole chemistry, but I think it does have something to do with Ben Simmons. The game should be like played around him, like small ball, kind of like what the Rockets are doing in the sense of getting rid of the center. I feel like he would excel more in an offense like that. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's very interesting to see how that plays out. I guess we'll have to see also what come playoff time, when hopefully they're both back and healthy, how they play against. They're probably going to go up against a team like the Heat, maybe, right?
Yep. Right now they are looked at playing in Miami. Well, just the Game 7 in Miami. So not hosting their first round matchup, which is crazy to think about. Yeah. Against Miami, which would be really interesting, I think, stylistically for those two teams.
Yeah, I think so too. Miami has been a surprise to me. Is what they've been able to like do with their team as far as like their draft picks have really been surprising. Mm-hmm. Bam Adebayo has having a breakout season, so he's doing very well. And that team's looking nice, and they've had some also key pickups. I don't feel so well about that Iguodala pickup they had, but. Yeah, it's very interesting to see what they'll do. As of recent, I don't know if you've noticed, I think they've lost like 7 of their last 10 games.
Yeah, it's been a lot.
It's been a lot of games, so I don't know what's going on with them. But I think they'll be able to figure it out also, and it's gonna be a tough matchup for either team. Like if it ends up being the Sixers or the Heat, it's gonna be a close playoff series.
I agree completely. Yeah. Circling back to the Philly thing, though. Do you think one of them will get traded in the offseason? Do you think this is it?
Depending how the playoffs go. I think if they get knocked out first round, they're definitely one of them is leaving. And I think the person that's going to leave is going to be Embiid.
I agree.
Yeah.
So I drew up some potential trades from teams I could think of.
Yeah, I can't even think of any teams right now.
Oklahoma City.
Okay.
Boatload of picks. You can include Adams in there as a salary to match, and whoever else you want to put in there, because Oklahoma City's been in the 6th place right now. They still have Chris Paul for a couple more years. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander has been playing fantastic for them.
Yeah, he's really good.
So then all of a sudden, well, if they do, Steven Adams, but you get Embiid, and they literally have, I think, 5 or 6 picks, first round picks, because I know they got one for Jeremiah Grant, not in the upcoming draft, obviously, but from future. Houston, they had 4 right for the Westbrook deal. And then they have another one from Denver for Jeremiah Grant. I remember at last year's deadline. And obviously a pretty young core that could still fit with Embiid. So I thought that'd be interesting. I don't know how many first-round picks you have to give up for Embiid in this situation, but New York Knicks, they could. I don't know what they have. They could try to dangle R.J. Barrett. I don't know what Philly would want to go.
Wait, how's R.J. Barrett? Sorry, this is just so random.
I don't know.
It's just no one knows.
Let's look him up.
No one knows. Okay, yeah. I don't know why I just thought of that. Like just R.J. Barrett.
NBA stats here. We'll get on there. Because just something like that maybe. Mitchell Robinson. I don't know.
What's the other team you had on there? Do you have any? Brooklyn. Okay.
If you're giving up people like Dinwiddie, LeVert, you have to gut a lot of team.
I like that. I feel like that would be a good move for them.
Give Philly some shooters out there to work with Ben Simmons. Golden State, never rule them out. if they were to somehow flip this year, if they get the number 1 pick, something like that. It also depends on what Philly wants, of course. I also, this doesn't make much sense because Zion is similar to Ben Simmons, I admit, but I put New Orleans on there just because if they could figure it out. With if you offer up someone like Ingram or Drew Holiday for the Sixers, so a guard like that, and a couple firsts, who knows? This would never happen because of the team, but it makes sense. Boston.
Yeah, no, that would never happen.
Never happen, but it makes sense because with Boston and not having a center is their weakest point. But those are the teams. I feel like the OKC is possible.
Brooklyn one's possible.
And I think it'd be interesting. I feel like if Brooklyn were to trade for Joel, I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, I wouldn't be either.
RJ Barrett, here we go, stat line. 13.7 points a game in 30 minutes. He's shooting 39% from the floor, 30% from 3, 5 rebounds, 60% from the free throw line. That's not very good. He's minus 6.7, plus minus. That's your number 3 overall pick.
Just wanted to know that stat. Is there any, I mean,
compared to Ja, that's rough. Poor Knicks fans thought they were getting Kyrie, Kevin Durant, and Zion all in the same thing. All in the same summer, and they got 0 of them, and they're dealing with RJ Barrett now.
I know, I really want...
So sad.
I really want them to get a big star, get somebody...
You did text me about this.
Yeah,
Go ahead, talk about this.
I want the Knicks to be good. It'd just be so cool to... The New York Knicks be like a playoff contender, someone that teams are scared to play, and they have the market for it. It would be so exciting to have MSG rocking again with a good team and just be cool for the whole NBA culture.
I know there's a whole thing like you gotta go see MSG, stuff like that once, but it's like, what's the point now? Yeah. Like, they're so bad. I mean, ever since, even it's funny to say about Carmelo, that whole team fell apart. Yeah. And it's like, ever since then, Jeremy Lin, I imagine, that'd be crazy.
Insanity.
But yeah, when that happened, but now it's like, there's nothing really there. So, poor Knicks fans. Okay. So, last kind of topic before we get into some general things. The middle, I had this as the Raptors and Rockets, but then I extended it because I realized there's just a middle level of contenders here. We've already talked about some of them. We've already talked about Boston. We talked about Miami and Philadelphia. And Dallas as well. But you have Toronto hanging around there. You have Utah hanging around there. You have Houston now with their crazy new look offense. And then you have, like we said, we touched on Philadelphia already. So I had Oklahoma City in there at first, but their odds don't match up with everybody else. Yeah. And I think they're interesting, but they have a lot more moves to make before they're a contender again. So Toronto, I guess we kind of touched on earlier, Pascal Siakam leading them. They're second in defensive rating. It's crazy. Siakam averaging 24 points a game. He's taking another step up in Kawhi's absence, which is crazy because they lost, I don't know if people would say the best player in the league, but he was certainly the best performer in the playoffs.
100%.
Last year, and they haven't really missed a beat at all,
No, yeah, it's a big surprise. I didn't expect them to be the second best team in the East this year. And yeah, you could make an argument for them, but again, come playoff time, you need that one superstar like Kawhi was last year, and I don't think Siakam, he's a really good player, but I don't think he has what it takes to be that person to take over like a game. Yeah,
I would love to see them play Milwaukee again in the playoffs to kind of see what you're talking about. Be like, okay, here's Giannis, the probable 2-time defending MVP. Then you knocked him out last year. He's going to be bloodthirsty coming for you. Can you step up and perform and win a game or 2 or 3?
I was watching part of the game, I think 2 nights ago, the Milwaukee Raptors game, and it was a close game. I think it much has to do with it was in Toronto, so they were feeding off that the atmosphere there in Toronto. Right. But yeah, I think it'd be a pretty close matchup, but I still think they don't have that one player to.
Yeah. I agree with you. That's what we talk about, the difference between them and Boston going forward in there. I want to talk about Houston.
I have some things to say about Houston, but you go first.
So since the Clint Capella deal, they've won a bunch of games. I believe they're 7-3, 8-2. I want to say in their last 10, something like that. They've been playing well. They beat teams like Utah with their small ball system now for who has obviously Rudy Gobert there. But to me, I look at these advanced numbers. They're plus 4.9 team rating, which is equivalent to Dallas over that time. and 8th. They're 5th offensive rating and then 15th. I think that's what my number says. 15th in defensive rating. Can't read my own handwriting. So I wouldn't say necessarily lighting the world on fire, but they've shown to be a little weird with teams recently. What are your thoughts?
No, I think this small ball game they're playing now it allows for their players like Russell Westbrook and James Harden to excel because it clears the baseline and like gives them lanes to attack, which what they're good at, especially Russell Westbrook.
Yep.
His stats are like doing really well. I think his field goal percentage is up there now because of that reason, that he can do what he likes and attack the ball and doesn't have to settle for a horrible 3-point shot. Mm-hmm. And it spaces out the floor. When he attacks, it allows for players like James Harden to step in there and like take that shot. But yeah, I think a lot of people were skeptical about this whole small ball game, especially with teams like Utah, where they have such a scary presence in Rudy Gobert in the paint. But I think they really proved that it could be successful. I don't know if you saw that one clip of in that game where Russell Westbrook was on the sideline and some fan was giving him shit for like saying like, oh, you can't go against the best defensive player in the game or something like that, and then he just gets the ball, takes it straight to the rim, and scores on Gobert. I'm like, there you go. That's what Russell Westbrook's good at, just attacking the paint. And I think they're gonna have to be a team that's gonna have to put up a lot of points to win their games. They're not gonna win their games defensively because that's where they're gonna get exploited, I think so.
Yeah, I see right now their matchup against OKC, which would be hilarious for so many reasons.
That would be hilarious.
Chris Paul will be going at Russell Westbrook. But you mentioned Utah. They're the 6. Dallas is the 7 right now. I think it's interesting. I think it's one thing in the regular season when it's so weird compared to what teams are playing night after night. And in a 7-game series, maybe game 1, game 2, they're hosting game 1, game 2, fine. And you can spot those to Houston. But when you're going on, you're making adjustments, you're watching the film, coach is watching film, you have a day off between each game. You're looking at game 4, game 5, game 6. And we got to be honest, James Harden doesn't have the best track record in the playoffs already to say.
You're right.
Say with, neither does Russell Westbrook. Because we could probably place a bet on whether it be game 3 or game 4 where Russell Westbrook goes 2 for 15 and costs his team the game. I'll be honest, 1 for 9 from 3.
Yeah,
you know it's happened. So it is interesting now. Obviously, it's crazy. I don't really know what else they could have done, if I'm being honest. I mean, I don't know.
I think they took a chance here. They had no other choice. Well, they had before. I wouldn't say it wasn't working, but it was not where they wanted to be with the beginning of the season with Russell Westbrook and James Harden and them having like Clint Capella and there in the rotation and stuff like that. I don't think they didn't like that, so they had to take a chance on something, and they're taking a chance on the small ball. And the thing with this, it's like it all depends who they're playing. It all depends who they get matched up on. It all depends. That OKC matchup will be very interesting, and it could be a tough matchup for them.
Well, I mean, Chris Paul and SGA have been playing fantastic. Do you think we didn't look at the possibility that OKC would win that trade when it came out? Because right now it kind of looks like it.
Yeah.
Because OKC's in 5th. Everyone thought they'd be out of the playoffs already. They look like they're firmly in the playoffs, and yet they swapped out one massive contract for another, but gained 2 first-round picks and 2 pick swaps. That's crazy.
Yeah,
Don't trade to Sam Presti. Him or Danny Ainge. Don't do it.
Yeah, I did not think for any second that when that trade happened, OKC's doing the smart thing. I think it was just. I honestly didn't even think Chris Paul was gonna end up staying.
Agreed.
Staying in Oklahoma, but I think he at this point of his career he doesn't mind.
Yeah, the whole deal for Robert Covington too was a lot.
Yeah.
He became really coveted. I mean, from previous year on Philly. Before going to Minnesota, all that stuff, like his stock was so speculative. I think so high for whatever reason. Mm-hmm. I mean, I get why they had to do it, but like you said, taking a chance. But I don't know. I feel like it's more likely they get knocked out in the first round than it is they go to the Western Conference Finals.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, if I had to bet on one or the other, I would. Yeah, I think so too. But yeah, and like you also mentioned, like teams like Utah. they also have things they can get exploited on. So,
well, Mike Conley's been a disaster for them.
yeah.
I looked this up because I was wondering if it's as bad as they say it is. He's been injured. Conley last year in Memphis, where is it? There's averaged 21 points a game, 6 assists per game. He's down to 13-4.
Jeez.
So Mitchell's been having to bring it up, which has been fine. Utah's in playoff position. Utah right now in the 6th seed, but it's definitely not going the way they thought it would. Gobert's having an excellent season again. Donovan Mitchell, like I said, picking up that slack. Joe Ingles, forever the best white guy out there. But they thought this would be more. They thought this would give them that other dimension, that second playmaker to take this off of Mitchell, and it doesn't look like it's working out that way at all.
Yeah, Gobert's playing good, but I don't know. I don't even know what they could do differently, I guess, because they have a good team, but it's just I don't even know what to say as far as what they could change.
First round exit. Utah, here we go.
Especially because right now they're matched up against the Clippers, right?
Correct.
Yeah, so
if they go down, they get matched up against Denver and the other best white player in the league.
Exactly. So they're kind of first round exit is probably what's going to happen to them.
Poor Utah.
That's one of those
first
teams.
Round exit. Boom, boom. Every year, right in. Doesn't matter where they play or who they add. Doesn't matter. We missed anything? What about you? What's on your mind?
I think that's pretty much it. Let me see if I think we chopped up all the headlines that are in the NBA currently. I guess we just have to wait and see what happens with the rest of the season.
I'm still taking the Lakers.
Yeah, and I still think the Clippers. I don't know. It's so hard. But the playoffs are gonna be fun this year. They're gonna be real, especially with we just talk about these little things like things to watch for, like OKC versus the Rockets or small stuff like this that it won't really matter because one of these other teams like the Lakers or the Clippers will end up going to the finals, but it'll add entertainment to the playoffs.
I agree completely. It's not going to be like Golden State all over again, hoping someone gets injured, which is the worst kind of thing.
No, that sucks. Yeah.
So yeah, all right. Well, thank you for coming on.
Of course, it's always a pleasure.